So welcome everyone to this very exciting The City at Eye Level Asia book launch today, where we will be sharing the newest insight in people-centered urban development in Asia today. Um, the partners Think City Urban Discovery and Stipo are very excited to launch this book with you today that is packed with more than 43, I'm sure it's even much more, dozens of inspiring case studies from all across the region that showcase good public spaces as the backbone of a sustainable city. And today we are here to launch the book with you, celebrate this great accomplishment with all the authors, but also to allow you to download the book after the event, or actually during the event already, to start looking into it. And today we will be for sure showing a little bit of the content. It's a sneak preview of the book, but we really want you all to start downloading the book after the event and then look into it even more so. My name is Charlotte Schans. For those of you who don't know me, I work for Stipo, one of the partners of the City at Eye Level Asia initiative. And I want to repeat to all the people here today, because we have global attendance, we know that from all over the world. And we want to tell you all that it's great if you keep yourself muted and your cameras off during the event, because we will be highlighting the speakers mostly. We're streaming live on Facebook and also through Zoom here, of course. So if you keep your cameras shut off, then it's great that you are not going to be seen as one of the speakers. If you do have questions, please feel free to put them in the chat. It will be a very packed program, but we will try our best to address the questions in the chat and sometimes even take them along in the panel today. And everything that remains unanswered during the event, we're hoping to get back to you after the event. So don't worry about that. We'll soon be in touch. So I would like to first take you through a little bit of the journey, how we got to the City at Eye Level Asia the last years. So in 2012, Stipo, an interdisciplinary team for urban development, launched the City at Eye Level program and brought like the first book talking about street plinths and the success of ground floors in creating better cities. We redid the book actually in 2016 because we wanted to highlight it as input for the new urban agenda that at the time was being formulated for the Habitat 3 conference. But it's great to share. Can we go back to the journey, please? To my colleagues. It's great to already name that in 2016 the book was highlighting a lot of global experiences, but we felt that it was great to also start working on something that would translate a bit easier to the Asian context. So my colleague Sienna Filders, together with some of the co-editors, Lisette van Rijn and Esther van Stekelenburg, they were sitting together and actually dreaming about this Asian version already back in 2016. And then Stipo worked together with Project for Public Spaces and Pakhuis de Zwijger in Amsterdam to create the second Global Placemaking Week in Amsterdam. And that was actually where Stipo met Think City, the team from Kuala Lumpur, and hosted the first session specifically for Asian placemakers. So that could have seen as the kickstart of this book. Then fast forward to 2019, we kicked off the project officially because we were granted a grant from Think City and also the Creative Industries Fund NL for their internationalization grant. And we started collaborating more intensively with Think City and Urban Discovery on this book. And last year, where many of the people here and the authors of the book as well were present, we came together in Placemaking Week, Placemaker Week ASEAN in Kuala Lumpur, organized by Think City, and that's where we launched the Placemakers Asia Network. And we met many amazing people working on great cities at eye level, human scale urbanism, place-led development, and historic conservation throughout Asia, and actually started collecting more and more cases for the book. So we're very happy that we had that opportunity back then. And of course, we would have loved to be all together today to celebrate the launch of the City at Eye Level Asia somewhere in the region. But due to the restrictions for the coronavirus, of course, we cannot meet in person, but we're very happy to have all of you here to celebrate this great accomplishment. To go a bit further into what the City at Eye Level means, and especially what it means for the Asian context, I would love to invite the first four panelists with me now. Those are Hans Karsenberg, founding partner of Stipo, Team for Urban Development, Esther van Stekelenburg, co-founder of Urban Discovery, Hong Kong-based social enterprise working on an app-based methodology for community-led cultural mapping, together with her executive director, Stephanie Chung from Urban Discovery, and of course, Hamdan Abdul Majid from Think City, managing director from Kuala Lumpur and Georgetown today. So welcome all, because it's great. I would like to first of all, with all of you, celebrate our joint accomplishment, because of course this book wouldn't have been here if it wasn't Urban Discovery, Think City, and Stipo teaming up. So for that, we would already celebrate our success, I would say. But I would like to start with Hans first to take us a bit back to the original idea of the city at eye level, because it started, as I said, in 2012. Can you describe for us what that universal feeling is that the city at eye level is about, Hans?
Thank you, Charlotte. And first, let me say this is very so for the accomplishment that we've made. The city at eye level, we started this because we feel that you know, when you walk down a new city, you have that feeling sometimes. Ah, that looks like a great street. I would love to go there. You kind of have that gut feeling, and you have this place where you would want to linger more, where you feel at home, where you feel the human interaction, the social life in the street. And in general, we know that people like to be where other people are, to look at other people. So that we want to capture that feeling with the city at eye level. We want to understand what are the mechanisms of that gut feeling that you may have, because if you can put that more into criteria and into words, then you can repeat it more often and help create existing streets, change them more into human scale streets like those. But also new developments to focus them more around the idea of community, social life, and a place.
And what is, thank you, Hans, you're talking about mechanisms already. Are those mechanisms universal, you've learned throughout the years?
I would say 50-50. In every community we work with, every community is different. Every person in that community is also different, of course. So even neighborhood from neighborhood within the same city, you need to make different choices. So it always starts really understanding the community's needs, the context, the environmental context, and that's even more so if of course you go from continent to continent. So a lot is super specific, which is why we find it so important to have this special book focusing especially on Asia with only Asian cases. Then I would say, of course, there is a fundament that is more universal, which is the way we humans observe our surroundings, the way we listen, the way we want to be with other people, the way we want to socially interact. Again, there is a big part of culture there, but a lot is universal as well. So I would say maybe 50-50, but that's not a very scientific answer, I'm afraid, but that's more based on our experiences so far.
The experience and maybe a bit of gut feeling again. Thank you so much, Hans. I would like to go to Esther, founder of Urban Discovery, as mentioned before. So you as a Dutchie, you've been calling Asia home for the last 20 years. So you're actually in the perfect position. You were in the perfect position to help Stipo translate the ideas and the mechanisms of the city at eye level to the Asian context. Can you tell us why that's so important?
Well, the answer is very simple, Charlotte. I mean, indeed, working here for quite a while in the field of planning, in the field of placemaking. And whenever we would have a training in the city here, whenever we would have a conference in these topics, the case studies, the best practice case studies, the experiences would always be from Sydney, from Amsterdam, from Vancouver. And I think as practitioners, at some point, we just got a bit fed up with that because we thought there's a lot of exciting stuff happening here in Asia. And why can't we document that and let practitioners here in Asia actually learn from Asians?
Great, thank you so much. And can you tell us a little bit of the different forces that play in Asian cities that we're up against when we're aiming for a good city at eye level?
Yeah, that's an excellent question, because the dynamics here are really quite completely different. I mean, when we're used to a European context, you can easily do everything times 10 when it comes to how fast growth is. Economic growth, urban development, even how tall buildings are. It's everything just happens a lot faster here. It's also the case that a lot of the development is very developer centric. Whereas in Europe, we're very much used to a government being in the driving seat. Nah, that's not necessarily the case here. I also find that the planning profession in general is quite technocratic. Planning typically comes from people who have studied architecture. And in Europe, perhaps we're a bit kind of more used to the softer side of planning, and definitely placemaking would fit into that. And that notion here is perhaps a bit more on the back of people's minds. And we would also argue that the concept of public space in Asia is just completely different from what it is in Europe. It's much more fluid, it's much more multifunctional, multi-religious, multicultural, and there's a kind of a whole kind of different dimension that comes to space, which I think justifies a publication in its own right.
Great, thank you so much. And Stephanie, on to you, Executive Director of Urban Discovery. Welcome. One of the new generations of people, like urban practitioners, I would say. In the introduction chapter about the city at eye level in the Asian context that people will be able to read after the event, you write about your generation's need for a better quality of life through intangible experiences. Can you elaborate a little bit on the role of your generation in this?
Right. Thank you, Charlotte. So I think throughout Southeast Asia, where iDiscover and Urban Discovery have been working for the past 10 years, we have been meeting a lot of millennials, people who were born in the late 80s and 90s, and even younger people who are very active and who want to contribute to the better development of their urban environment. And these are obvious people like architects, designers, even photographers, or even baristas, but then even a lot more people who are just daytime bankers, where, you know, after work they want to do something to contribute to their urban development. So I think we have been coming across this generation of millennials who really want to act upon that urge. At the same time, most of our events are place activation activities here in Hong Kong. Half of the audience are actually getting younger and younger. So they're actually not only hiding inside their homes or going to shopping malls and going to, the same movies, but then they actually come out to the streets and join our activities, whether it be pop-up museum exhibitions, or whether it be tours or workshops or other kinds of activities on the streets. And even more so, actually, some of them started initiating new programs, movements, and that's something that we've been seeing a lot in Southeast Asia, particularly, for example, in Manila, in Escota, where a bunch of young people just come together and revitalize the entire street, which was dilapidated and lost their attractions and charm. So I think this generation, they have this urge to basically get their hands dirty, get onto the streets and start something, whether it be small organic movement or whether it be something like a network like this. And I really feel the passion of these people, whether in Hong Kong or in Manila or in Kuala Lumpur and many other places in Asia.
Great. And if you look at, of course, you've been on board of the editing team, so the majority of the inspiring case studies that are here in the book. And also you've been at Placemaker Week and met a lot of great other placemakers from across the region. Can you tell us about how this book could actually help you as a generation to move these ideas forward?
I think that one common message that has been, talk about a lot by Hans, by Esther, by you guys, is that we used to grow up, or we used to look around and just look at European or American case studies And that was like our standard of excellence, or that was like the standard of what we should do. And that's what the government has always been showing. That's the best case practices that, you know, everyone should follow. But that's actually not the case. And you know, the entire cultural context is so different. And Esther mentioned, you know, all these actors and dynamics are very completely different. So we do want to look for something that's relatable, and that I think the book provides a really great sort of starting point in the network as well, so that we can reach out to people that are more, you know, closer, literally, but also really there are references that we can borrow. And I can imagine, you know, reading the case studies, it can be things that are really nitty gritty, coming in terms of like the design, the logistics, how do you mobilize people, different messaging software. So I think the book and the network are really a great stepping stone for us to kickstart this network, to empower the network and to expand it, so that placemakers, especially younger generation in the region, can connect and build better projects and places.
Amazing, thank you so much. And I think you've said somewhere before as well that perhaps there has never been a better time to launch this book right now, as we're adjusting to a new normal with the whole pandemic going on. Hence, we're talking online and not in person right now. Can you explain why you feel the time is now?
I think the urge has never been stronger, both on the government side, people who have power. They have seen a lot of cities who have really moved, you know, in such a quick speed, in such a short amount of time, and launching large-scale pedestrianization activities, or bike lane install, or parklet. A lot of activities that we've have thought, you know, would be impossible to be ready in such a short amount of time. A lot of cities are doing it and showing us that it's possible. On the other hand, I think the pandemic has really strengthen that urge within people, as Hans had mentioned, that there's this social connection that we all urge for now that we're locked down at home. So I think these two strong urges coming together, it's really a great momentum for us to rethink and actually to add a point it, so that, you know, with all this discussion right after when we can step out on the street, we can do something that to connect again and to build better places. So I think this is the right momentum to leverage on.
Great, amazing. So to build back stronger within human skill.
Definitely.
Thank you so much. Handan Abdul-Majid, Managing Director of Think City. You wrote in your introduction that people will be able to read. Let me read it for them. As we move beyond the virus, how painfully aware of how vulnerable we are, the role of placemaking continues to be just as, if not more, relevant. Can you please elaborate?
First of all, thank you, Charlotte, for the kind introduction. I think we all know the fact that what you call cities is all about people, and people make cities. But the ingredient that makes cities at the end of the day is the gelling. It's actually placemaking. And placemaking has been the mainstay of what I would call urban work for a very long time. It has always been the enabler, the X factor that has made cities great and ensures that the city is engaging, sociable, and interactive and livable. But in the Asian context, you know, it's in what we may need to reflect, given the book is focused on Asia, is in the post-colonial Asia, the pace of urbanization that took place was very rapid, as what Esther highlighted, and the needs and demands, as well, what Stephanie said, was fast changing. It's unfortunate that we adopted a lot of our worst practices of coming from the West, by virtue that most of us referred back to our colonial states, and the lessons that were put into practice were making Asian cities go through a very harsh environment, and that's probably the what do you call the roots of where placemaking in Asia started to emerge. 2 decades ago, this was very novel. But I'm glad that this has become a sort of like it has become like mainstay and fast becoming what do you call a factor that's transforming cities in many different ways, as what Stephanie has highlighted earlier. But then again, we live in an age where disruption has become a very real factor. Even before the COVID crisis, the pressure to be for cities to be livable, resilient, and inclusive and healthy has been becoming more and more important. With and we have been facing the threats of climate change, lack of resources, pollution, and other disease outbreaks. So COVID is something that I think we need to take lesson of, the fact that it is standing right in front of us, and how do we adapt ourselves to face this new reality. Now, the pandemic and the new norms are threatening our human connections, which is the fundamental reasons of why we exist, cities exist. As we have seen all across Asia and many parts of the world, the streets and public spaces are empty in those countries that are going through difficulties, whereby the disease is not contained. But then again, in Asia, we also see that there is countries that have had that a high level of discipline that is able to bring back the cities back into operations. So there is like two different lessons that we are observing in Asia, and whether it's the case study of looking at India or China or Vietnam. So there's different kind of opposing end. And Malaysia, where I come from, is juxtaposed in between. We have both the good and bad and ugly that coexist together. But one of the key things that emerges as a result of the COVID crisis, I see, is basically the fundamental existential issue of cities. Our cities, is this the beginning of the long decline of cities? My take on it is to say that cities are here to stay. It's home for 4 billion people. And the challenge lies in the sense that how can we make it more livable, more resilient, and more adaptive by finding new innovative ways to manage and build cities. And I think placemaking in that context has got a very significant and big role in building great places, in making our cities to become the places that we love and want to make it more lovable. The moment that we have now is actually a respite, in the sense that it's a downtime that allows us to take a step back, recalibrate, reassess, and come with new approaches and new innovation. Because the cities today are not the cities of the future. We are needing to rethink, reassess, reimagine a new future. And I think the COVID crisis provides a moment of respite to think about how do we actually adapt to this new norm, if assuming we live with COVID, and how do we ensure that we are able to make great cities and allow for human interaction. Even if you're not physically able to interact, then how do you use what we're doing today? That what you call the digital platform continues to be the basis of allowing for us to continue to interact, engage, do a book launch. That's something that we could have not imagined a year ago. A year ago, we all gathered in Kuala Lumpur, and we set a milestone about building this pacemaker network. A year later, now we are in a newer context, and I think that resiliency is something that we need to now live with and adapt. And I think more as we look ahead, there will be a post-COVID world. And in the post-COVID world, do we return to what you call past practices of how placemaking was, or do we have version 3.0, 4.0, 5.0, whatever that it may be? So these are some of the questions. The book provides some answers, but it also provides some thought, has put placeholders for further thought and thinking about what the future should be. So I look forward to getting this project not to be a one-off. Rather, we look forward to City at Eye Level 2.0, 3.0, and it's been great collaborating with all of you all.
Thank you so much, Hamdan. You put it very nicely into words, also the context and why it's the time now to launch the City at Eye Level Asia in this context to imagine the post-COVID city. Can you just finally share a little bit of your hopes for what you would like City at Eye Level Asia to grow into? Like, what is your wish for the book and the network of Placemakers Asia?
I think one of the things that I hope and I would like to see is that how can we continue forge ahead as a community of believers, practitioners, and activists to shape the new face of Asia. COVID provides us the ability now to shape the raison d'etre to change and to create the new face of what Asia should be. And hopefully, maybe Asia could set the new set of exemplars that can shape the rest of the world. That's one. Two, I hope that the collaboration doesn't stop here. Rather, we hope that this would just be the beginning of the long road that eventually that we build much more meaningful and deeper connections. And I hope that this network that we have built. I know it's just been started with a simple idea and conversation in Amsterdam, but it's definitely has grown and has built momentum. Let's harness it and let's take advantage of what we have built to date and use this as a basis to then build something that is far much more significant. And lastly, I would also like to say that I envision that the book, the network should be out there changing minds. So we need to actively engage and find ways to, as much as possibly, push the boundaries. On Think City's end, I think we are glad to support. In fact, we would be printing copies of the book, and as much as possible, make available copies to advocates in the network, and hopefully you could use this as a basis to share with the others and so on. And I'd like to say, a big thank you to you, Charlotte, particularly, and Sienna for coordinating and making this event possible together with the other partners. To Stipo Urban Discovery, two organizations that are leaders of placemaking in their own rights. All the authors who have come forward to share their best work. And if I have left out anyone's name, I appreciate all your contribution and effort, especially, working through this difficult 8 months, where we're not able to have that face-to-face interaction. Maybe the good side is that it forced us to complete the book and get it out. With that, thank you very much and congratulations.
Thank you so much. And Hans, on to you, because I think Hamdan stressed that the time is certainly very right to launch the City at Eye Level Asia. So I would love to give you the honor to actually hand over the first copy to Hamdan.
Thank you very much. Yeah, just to show the kind of the body of knowledge that this is going to become a part of. Many books went before us. They can all be downloaded on the website. But let's forget about those. And I just realized that we are doing this in the wrong order, because I don't think it's us giving this first book to Hamdan. It's Hamdan and the whole network giving this book to us. So maybe we should have done the reverse way. But anyway, I do have a first copy of the book here. And there's supposed to be this magic window here above my head leading to you, Hamdan. So I'm going to pass it on to you, this magical moment.
I'm looking up.
Look at this.
Receiving it.
Here we go. Yes, do you got it?
Wow! It's landed here in Georgetown, Penang, and it's coming through. Congratulations, everyone. Thank you very much for making this a reality. I think, we should celebrate. It's been a excellent 3 years of hard work, and well done.
Congratulations, guys. And that also goes for all the authors that we will be highlighting in a second. But this also means that the book is officially live, because behind the scenes, my colleagues are pushing a button now that people can start downloading the book. But please stick with us now for the program and wait for another hour before starting to read the book, because we have a lot of nice content lined up for you the coming hour. So please stick with us, but download the book and spread it with your networks, and make sure that it's going to be widely read and well received. And as soon as the COVID pandemic allows us for international shipments, then of course the book will also be for sale online for the limited in-print edition. But we hope you bear with us. The pre-sale will be open now. And then I would like to thank again Hans and Hamdan and Stephanie and Esther for their celebratory launch with us as we go into the sneak preview of the book. So I would like to move on, because we have a great storyline lined up for the whole book that you will be able to see. And all these amazing contributors wrote a very inspiring chapters across the whole book that we've lined up in 7 exciting themes that we will start introducing you to today. So a lot of these authors wrote their chapters. They've worked with us to do interviews, and also today some of them have made special videos that will be shared with you throughout the next hour or so. So I would like to first introduce Lisette van Rijn, hands-on project manager working a lot with Stipo as well on the City at Eye Level Asia and urban discovery, to introduce us to the first theme of the book, which is turning underused spaces into places. Lisette, can you quickly introduce us to it and show us some of the videos? We do not hear you yet, Lisette, so you have to unmute your microphone.
Yep.
Yeah.
Sorry, my mistake. Thank you, Charlotte. I really would love to do this quickly, as we are all looking forward to all the clips I think we want to see. So I'd like to take this opportunity to give you a very quick appetizer into this first practical chapter of the book. This chapter talks really about one of the placemaking's fundamental assets, its ability to vitalize areas that are previously or underused. The chapter shows how this can be an answer in the ongoing thirst and quest for space in your super dense cities. And it's been exciting. And what's excited me most about this chapter is actually the breadth of the cases, as you can see on the screen. From many applicants, we selected 6 cases from Hong Kong to Singapore, from Mumbai to Yangon. And we can really learn how, I guess, with imagination and perseverance, it is actually possible to create truly lovable places in the most unexpected and even hostile spaces. And it has really shown me the resilience and also the ingenuity of Asian urbanites. And actually, I've also learned that in Asia, with a little civil disobedience, you actually can put a stop to high-level, top-down development plans. So, congratulations, co-authored. It was really, really nice to work with you over the past couple of months, and I really hope that everybody will enjoy this very practical chapter. And now we stay tuned for 2 clips starring 2 of the 6 cases in this chapter.
In 2016, Bombay Greenway identified a narrow public staircase that had turned into a dump yard, lying unused in an upscale neighborhood of Mumbai. They approached the local councillor with a plan to turn it into a multi-use public space. After 3 years of hard work and the support of multiple collaborators, the steps were finally completed in 2019. Giving close to 2,000 square meters back to the city. Additional space was acquired by taking part of the street and getting rid of illegal parking. The steps ticked off all the requirements for an ideal public space, open 24/7 and accessible to all. Next, it was time to celebrate. First, an open call for mural artists to bring color to the steps, with volunteers from all backgrounds pitching in. LYP Mumbai and Little Big City joined Bombay Greenway to put together Festival at the Steps, 5 weekends of curated programming to celebrate and build community. The steps became a melting pot and the crowds grew every weekend. People from the community bringing their enthusiasm, skills, and passions to share. Eventually, even the local group of residents began to plan their own programming. Through the whole process, we learned that people are more willing to accept change when they're having a good time, so it's essential to celebrate. Children have the power to show adults what a good place looks like and how to make the best of it. And finally, find key collaborators in the community to support your vision and outnumber the naysayers. This is what we hope and strive to see more of in all public spaces in our city.
Thank you so much, Lisette, our co-curator of the City at Eye Level Asia. We're now moving on to Jiaping Li, if she's already there, but I know that she was coming in a bit late. Jiaping, are you here?
Yes, I am.
Welcome. So Jiaping Li, since this year runs Tempatico, and welcome. Can you tell us more about the section on creativity as a driving force?
Right. Thanks, Charlotte. Just huge congratulations to everyone for making this happen. Why this chapter? Actually, this chapter is all about creativity, and a lot of people feel that placemaking has to incorporate a lot of design, has to be done very professionally from an architectural perspective or an urban planning perspective. And actually, what you really need is just someone with a passion who is not trained in urban design to take up the mantle of leader and go around getting the support of the community. And you know, these stories from New Delhi, Colombo, Chiang Mai, Bangkok, and Yokohama, they're all about how they've regaled or corralled the community to be involved in such a way that they instill pride and they take ownership of that project. So really, placemaking is nothing without its community. And there's a great quote that says, you know, the community is the expert. And I'm sure we're preaching to the converted, but for those who are not familiar with placemaking, creativity is a great tool to get towards engagement and connecting with the community. So Bandung is sorely missed in this chapter, and I just want to have a shout out to the people in Bandung because they're leading the way. So you know, as what Hamdan says, I hope to see Bandung in City at Eye Level Asia too. So without further ado, there's 2 videos here that we would love to show you as a sneak preview of what you go read. Thank you.
Biaframia is a mural art project based in Colombo, Sri Lanka. It was initiated by the local artists Fiori, Rojithan, and Vicky to celebrate the diverse community and break the misconception of people who live in slave island. The present state of the project is art walks that conducted by the artists to a number of visitors. The art walk will allow visitors to explore the neighborhood and spot the painted portraits of the locals. These walks help visitors to understand the dynamic of the area and interact with the local community. Biaframia guided tours and other visual and storytelling formats are also being utilized to not only tell the stories of the remarkable community and the area, but to also highlight the pride of the community under threat by developers and the rapid of Colombo.
Community bridge. The small upgrading to make place become public. This upgrading is a part of Imagine Mecca campaign. Mecca is the name of historical canal which takes alongside of Chiang Mai Old Town. Used to be important water resource, but now the canal become the sewage line of the city. The canal will have opportunity to make city more livable in the future. We ask people to imagine, make a plan, and start doing something. The bridge is the one that happened. From old broken bridge, community want to build a new one. We share the idea and allow people to support in many ways. Finally, we got a new bridge which belongs to everyone. The bridge which connects the two sides of the canal, connecting the city to the community, and also connecting to the new opportunity in the future. Still, Imagine Mecca campaign is going by many hands. The second bridge, the wooden pavilion by architect student, the planting event, the boat tour trip, the recall of the ancient spirit ceremony, the urban farming on the old dump site nearby, and so on. Little by little, we believe the good development is not only about physical, but relationship and new inclusive culture will make the city more livable.
Thank you so much, Japingli, with the chapter or the section Creativity as a Driving Force. I'm not sure if it's just my connection, but sometimes the sound of the videos is not that strong at my end at least. But we'll make sure to also share the videos after the event, so everybody will be able to see them again through our YouTube channels, of course, and read all the chapters in the book. Okay, so next up is Stephanie Geertman, founder and owner of Living in Cities, who will tell us more about the section on formal to fluids. Stephanie, welcome.
Thank you for the introductions, and hi everyone, and also congratulations with this really good initiative. I also think it's a very good idea to start a book like this. Okay, about the fluid and the formal. The Asian region, of course, is a great variety of urban settings and in all its diversity. However, it's an urban region of both ancient and sacred cities and more pragmatic cities serving the everyday lives of people. And it is here where the terms fluid and formal really come into place. The theme of the following chapters are cases, so that's the theme of the following chapters with cases from China, Vietnam, Malaysia, Thailand, Japan, and Hong Kong. And the cases that are discussed in this chapter, they show how the fluid city is primarily an open city, which is characterized by everyday behaviors of people, which often shape dynamic, unpredictable, non-linear, and multi-use spatial behaviors of people. And they often shape very dynamic, unpredictable, more non-linear and multi-use spatial processes, which are shaped by really the choices of the people make in their everyday life. So it's really the city of the people. And this can produce urban forms like self-built houses or the crooked streets that you might see, or the temporary markets. The cases in the book also show how, in contrast, there's the formal city. And the formal city is often this very closed city that is shaped by planned interventions initiated by governments in their policies, regulations on how we design, make our formal designs, and this produces really linear planning of cities. It formal shapes. This produces like the urban new towns, central business districts, green belts, and ring roads. So both the fluid and the formal really both very present in Asian cities. And it's specifically this dynamic relationship between the fluid and the formal city that is shaping any urban setting. But in Asian cities, it's really defining the character in the region. So in particular in Asia, both the formal and the fluid are dominant, resulting in a very dynamic and distinct urbanism. And this makes cities very vibrant on this eye level. To conclude, we have very limited time. This is a very big topic. I think it's a very umbrella topic. But to conclude, if you're interested in understanding how these Asian cities that are largely very formally planned, but at the same time are able to produce really much room for very spontaneous spatial behaviors of everyday life on the eye level, you definitely would want to take a peek in these chapters. So we're now going to watch some short clips that will show you how this will work. Thank you.
Malaysia is a food lover's paradise. We take pride in our diverse culinary heritage from a multicultural society. Food is a fundamental factor of togetherness in Malaysia and is often the core subject in community gatherings. This essay explores how the street hawkers can contribute to building a strong community in the heritage core of Kuala Lumpur, known as downtown KL.
都市の構造がやっぱこう車中心になってしまっているっていうところがやっぱり一つあって、どうやってこう歩行者中心に変えていくのかっていうところにマインドセットであるとか効率だとかいろんな壁がやっぱあるというところですね。海外都市を見ているとこう長い年月かけて広場を使ってきている。日本は最近こういった空間が出てきたりとかこう増えてきたっていうところで、まだまだこう身近になってないこう慣れの部分があるのかなというふうに思っています。国の政策がかなり動き出している。一つはオーカベルっていう街全体として歩きやすいしてこういうようなタレントこう政策がこうっていうのができてきた。二つ目は道路の政策もこう変わってきているので、2040年までの道路政策ビジョンっていうのを国が打ち出してですね、新しいモビリティと歩行者中心のストリートっていうのを掛け合わさって同じ方向になっていく。中長期的街であるとか道路っていうのがこれから変わっていくだろう。で、これにプレイスメイキングっていうものをどうこう一緒に混ぜてやっていくのかっていうふうなところが大きなチャンス。私たちは外の場っていうふうな活動をしていて、屋外を中心としたパブリックエスペクトのマガジンだとかコミュニティを作っていくっていうふうなところをやっています。で、それの中で今活動しているのが一つ目パーキングで世界でももう15年ぐらいやられている、路上駐車場を小さな公園に変えていこうっていうふうな、毎年9月第3休日やられている取り組み、もっと専門家であるとか実践をする人がどこかでアクションをするっていう機会をですね、どんどん作っていくべきだな。それの人材育成の講座としてスクールを作って、最後9月にパーキングデーをやるプログラムを最近やっています。で、2つ目がプレイスゲームっていうプレイスメイキングの一つの手法なんですけれども、実際の現状の街を魅力であるとか課題であるということの場所を診断評価するツールだと思ってまして、その先の短期の提案や長期の提案っていうものをつなげていきながら、社会実験であるとか空間の整備につなげていくかという、プレイスメイキングのプロセスにつなげていくかっていうふうなところの、チャレンジを今始めています。
Thank you so much, Stephanie, and of course the beautiful two case studies from Kuala Lumpur and Japan, and there will be more to find in the book, of course. Let's move on to Esther van Stekelenburg. We've seen her before from Urban Discovery to talk about the section on reimagining history.
Yeah, hi, thank you, Charlotte. I am beyond excited that this topic has made it into the book because I passionately believe that this is a very urgent issue. All around Asia, as the skyscrapers are mushrooming, kind of old shop houses, historic streetscapes disappear, and with the buildings go the stories, goes the collective memory, the urban identity of people. And we already see a lot of examples of uprooted communities, of damaged streetscapes. And once it's gone, it's gone. It's never coming back. Now, the pressure of development, of urban development in Asia is super big anywhere, but especially in these historic city centers, you know, multi-layered, complex, shifting realities, never static, a very kind of complex environment of place values and place identities, which makes that placemaking is just super challenging. And these case studies that we have picked with my team of co-curators, two very long time established heritage experts, Maggie Brook and Johannes Widodo, actually show a really nice variety of very bottom-up local projects to much larger scale, much more ambitious projects from China, from India, from Southeast Asia. And I think what they do show very powerful is that placemaking in historic city centers actually really comes down to storytelling. And that is what we're going to see here in the two clips that have been sent to us from Taipei and from Jakarta.
Initiated by the government, Consortium Kota Tua Jakarta was founded in 2014. The heritage organization is focused on reactivating corners of Jakarta Kota, as well as to empower the local communities by applying public-private partnership. For the tangible aspects, the consortium acquired dozens of abandoned buildings, conserved them by collaborating with experts such as architects, historians, archaeologists, and local authorities. We give the space new life through activities with adaptive reuse approach and curating new programs that would complement the existence of the site. The intangible aspects include activities such as exhibitions, pop-up markets, events, concerts, as well as workshops for heritage enthusiasts and trainings for local communities. On normal days, this place would have thousands of visitors daily. However, since March 2020, Jakarta was put under large-scale social restrictions due to the pandemic of COVID-19. The price we had to pay to stay safe and healthy is that businesses are collapsing and many people are losing their jobs and incomes. Recently, Consortium partnered up with Markata Athletic Club and the sub-district government to hold a social service program. With the help from the sub-district government, we were able to record the numbers of our neighbors that were affected by the pandemic.
招牌的颜色、大小跟质感都是要尽量去做一个收敛。
它的立面是很旧的木板，所以拆下来之后，这个立面可能也要稍微整理一下。
招牌设计的这个理念是希望可以直接看到它的商品，还有它的色调，也要搭配到建筑。
希望可以透过新的招牌设计，让新人或者是甚至是年轻人，这些观光客经过之后可以去了解他们。
就是整理现有立面，然后把一些室外机清除干净，然后去做招牌设计。
我希望那个招牌它对的时候，它是一个中华路上面的街道特色。
Thank you so much, Esther van Stekelenburg, and also beautiful indeed how it shows that it goes from everywhere of a public-private partnership to street signs to create a better city at eye level and to reimagine history. I'm going to pass the baton on to Hans Kartjeberg for the chapter about place-led development.
Thank you, Charlotte. Super happy with this chapter as well. because the buildings we build have a big impact on our environment. And there is this deep relationship between creating places and developing property, developing areas. There's good and bad news in this section, I would say. The good news is that we can read that more and more real estate developers, municipalities are looking at the aspects of placemaking, trying to integrate that into the urban development. The bad news, however, still is that if you look at the majority of what's being built, there's a disconnection between this idea of place and the idea of property. Whereas if you do this right, if you do this in a good way, then it's actually good for the property development and the property value. That's what we take from this section as well. And there's tremendous and big lessons in this section, not only for the fast development in Asia, but also for the fast development in other parts of the world, from the perspective of what municipalities can do, the perspective of what communities can do, and the perspective of what real estate developers can do. So I hope this is a big inspiration for everybody. We would love to go to 2 clips from the book, one by Mariana Rahayu with Gamuda Land, wonderful example of what you can do as a real estate developer, and then one by Said Labafi in the collaboration with URA Singapore, a wonderful chapter by Serene Ting from URA about how you can manage streets in a better way.
Back home in Iran, where I come from, we also running this business in Grand Bazaar, which is very similar to the architectural work of Kampong Glam, which is very much engaging, is more welcoming, and is very friendly environment to be. That's why I felt this is the best place to be. Kampong Glam, we do have stakeholders from different part of the world. Some people may not know enough about the history of Kampong Glam, and I'm myself learning day by day more and more about the heritage value of Kampong Glam. That's why I have started engaging with stakeholders to make a committee together, and when we did few of the events, I could really feel lots of other passionate people having a strong feeling to save and support Kampong Glam spirit.
Thank you so much, Hans, as well, and the people who created the great videos to clearly show that developers and cities have great roles to play in this strive for more place-led development. And next up is Daniel Lim from Think City about finding the balance of inclusivity. Daniel, welcome. We don't hear or see you
Hi,
yet.
sorry.
Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So this chapter is about finding the balance of inclusivity. And when we talk about placemaking, it's always about people, right? I mean, without people, you can't really placemake. So at the heart of it all, defining the inclusivity, it is about the people and for the people. So we can look at this chapter through different lights. One of it is the process, how the chapter discusses about how process, being inclusive in the processes, and that looks at the tools that some of the case study uses, the participatory process, and some of it, the type of programming that enables inclusive participation. So there are case studies that are looking at those. And also, the other thing about inclusivity is also about the content, right? So while you have the process where you're inclusive about people be able to participate, it's also about the content to be inclusive. And being inclusive in the context of content also could mean that being sensitive to the local culture, local context, so that it's not just couple bomb a solution, but actually a very tailored, localized solution. So that comes to the tools that's been used, the content that's been put out, and also the way the community is able to participate. And I think lastly about it is also, once you look at a space, inclusivity of it, and also the participatory process, you then look at the audience to make sure that it's also able to cover all different diverse audience. So it's not just that targeted to only one community, but everybody that's users that is there visiting, using the space, etc. So I think the video is going to show Armenian Park in Georgetown, Penang, and that kind of show that if you are inclusive in the process, then what type of outcome is able to achieve. Yep.
In Singapore, all of us are foodies. So knowing the food is knowing the people and our community as well. I'm Helen, and I'm a cultural cooking instructor here. All of us here are not trained chefs. We are actually moms who cooks at home. And here we are helping our foreign friend tourists to cook Singapore heritage food.
There must be a lot of tourists coming to Singapore wanting to learn more about our cuisine. Find a cooking class that teach you local food. So for me, it was a no-brainer. The idea came from there, and I thought, why not hire stay-home mothers? They are natural storytellers. They learn cooking from their grandmas, from their parents. That was a perfect match.
So try it. Who has tried it? Smart. Okay, you're 1 year late.
A lot of people are not aware that stay-at-home mothers do face a lot of challenges, especially those that want to come back to work. One of my objectives of Food Playground is to encourage other employers to give more opportunities to stay-at-home mothers. Find a way to work with these people. Yeah, they will surprise you with what they can do.
I'm very proud that I have the opportunity to share our heritage, our culture, our tradition. Food is a wonderful thing. It brings community together. And I don't know how to describe it. Yeah, when somebody enjoys what you're doing, it really gives you that satisfaction that somebody is going to spread the word about Singapore for you. That's really amazing.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Daniel, Lim, and the contributors to this section, by showing as well that the famous insight that placemaking works by putting out food. I think the last video of the Food Playground clearly showed that. And I think last but certainly not least, the section that I was able to curate for the book is about sustaining our cities together. And I've tried to show in the introduction that the unprecedented risks posed by climate change is actually affecting the region disproportionately, I would say. And you see many cities in Asia actually coping with either coastal flooding or stormwater management, urban heat. And as global warming is continuing, these risks of course become even higher. And I think what is interesting is that this also threatens the socioeconomic success of the region, because I think it's as I've been trying to argue, it's actually the dark side of the economic success of Asian cities. You've seen that many Asian cities grew economically, also, as we've heard before, are densifying largely, but you can see that it also leads to more overconsumption and waste production, and air pollution, obviously. So I'm very happy that within the chapter we have a great series of case studies from all over the region that clearly show that cities and in some cases in this specific chapter also were regional case studies. They definitely hold the key to more innovative climate action, and it does tell me. So we have examples where we look at the walkability of Asian cities in a great chapter by Richard Lambert, but also how wood consumption actually helps to protect the forests in Japan, how to connect the urban and the rural in Indonesia, how sky gardens and rooftop greenery in Singapore helps to mitigate the effects of urban heat, how bikes and cycling day would actually affect the air quality in Bangalore, and of course the examples from Singapore about urban farming, and Malaysia as well, and edible gardens. And the case studies that focuses on climate resiliency of public space in the sponge cities in Wuhan. And I think what these case studies, they show clearly together is that climate action across the region is very multifaceted and comes from either top down, bottom up, but more specifically combined all of them. And it definitely showed me that focusing on a greater city at eye level has a lot of potential if combined with climate resiliency, for sure, because it can improve, it can create more livable places, I would say, but also grows participation and public support for climate action on the longer run. It clearly shows or the case studies clearly show that we need to work together on this very, very large challenge that the world is facing right now. And there's lots of opportunities to work on urban equity in par with climate action, I would say. Climate action can also help bridge the urban-rural divide. That's very often, as argued in the chapter, an unnatural relationship. And the case studies definitely show that it's time to scale up these best practices, and that Asia definitely holds the key to do so, to achieve the global climate goals. To give you an example of one of the case studies, I would love to look at the video provided by Manju George from the SAF in India about the public-private partnership of the Cycling Day.
With a visionary as a decision maker, streets in Bangalore are reclaimed since 2013, engaging people of all ages, gender, ability, Cycle Day is one of the long-term public-private partnerships in India for reclaiming streets for people. Traditional games helped in connecting the senior citizens, youth, and children instantly, while the community-led placemaking events built the capacity of 50-odd neighborhoods with more than 600 open street events. The city got back to cycling as one of a preferred mode of transport. With public bike sharing, pop-up cycling lane, and cycling districts, Bengaluru is moving to a sustainable way.
Thank you so much, Manju, for that great video. As said before, we noticed that the sound of the videos is not always that strong due to the connection, so we'll be sharing them after the fact, of course, to watch them again online. So as said before, we've with this really rapid overview of the book, we've tried to give you some of the key insights of the book, and also especially invite you to read all the case studies, because this was only a little selection of all the great content that's there in the book. So please do get your hands around the book and look into them in more detail. But first, I would love to go to Jeff Howe, who's chiming in, I think, from Taipei at the moment, if I'm not mistaken. Welcome, welcome, Jeff. Jeff is a professor of landscape architecture and director of the Urban Commons Lab at the University of Washington, Seattle. Normally, luckily, you're in the Asian region at the moment, so you're not chiming in very early in the morning. But welcome, Jeff. We invited you to, as one of the first people, read the entire manuscript of the book and draw some conclusions, because as you've seen, we have 7 cases with so many different case studies, lots of lessons learned, and you actually managed to draw up some conclusions about the whole content of the book. Can you share some of the insights with us?
Yes, hello from Taipei. Thank you, Charlotte, for inviting me to contribute to this volume, also to join the book launch. I must say that I had the perhaps the most challenging, but also the most rewarding job of writing a conclusion to this remarkable volume. So in the next few minutes, I just want to highlight a few overall observations that I have in reading all the cases. Can you advance to the next slides, please? Okay. So first, the central concept of the book and the networks, obviously placemaking, and it is abundantly clear that placemaking initiative have provided a platform to engage a multitude of actors in ways far surpassing conventional planning and design. In this volume, we see active roles of nonprofits, philanthropists, social entrepreneurs, artists, volunteers, residents, vendors, business owners, and so forth, through collaboration, through co-creation, through other forms of engagement. They include adults, teens, and children, both locally and from afar. So I would argue that this is one of the most important aspects of placemaking. Next. Secondly, similar to the wider range of actors, placemaking can engage a wide variety of spaces and types of interventions. So rather than these conventional sites of planning and design, the collection of cases in this volume encompasses events, programs, murals, gardens, activation or rehabilitation of vacant and residual spaces, a variety of short-term as well as long-term interventions. They take place on the streets, in the alleyways, under the bridge, on the rooftops, and also in commercial buildings and private residences, including both highly visible and also strangely interstitial spaces. Next. Thirdly, placemaking can be scalable in both time and space. What may begin as a simple short-term intervention can blossom into a more substantial program with sustained impact over time. The Yangon Alleys Garden Project is one of the most remarkable cases in this volume. For instance, has grown to include 12 sites, totaling 15,000 square meters of urban spaces. And furthermore, the skills and experiences from the alleyway cleanup and activation have been applied to other sites, including streets and playgrounds. Next slide, please. In this volume, we also see cases in which placemaking can serve as a form of resistance against unwanted developments or encroachments, as experiments in an alternative way of life and in helping revitalize declining communities and neighborhoods. And also as a vehicle for addressing the needs of the underserved populations in projects located in Hong Kong, Indonesia, India, Japan, and Thailand, for example. They have been led by a growing number of emergent practices involving charity organizations, nonprofits, and neighborhood associations, as well as public space management consultants, architects, and artists. Next, we also seen a so I think what these placemaking initiatives are doing are not just about transforming the built environment themselves, but also about building capacity and relationship in societies that have been increasingly fragmented. This includes providing agency for people who may have been historically marginalized, including migrant workers, children, in such way they represent a window for social transformation or even possibly as a site of emancipation. So with that, I'd like to congratulate all the authors and editors for this remarkable feat. And I hope this represents only the beginning, and I look forward to seeing many more projects and transformations to come in the future. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jeff. Indeed, a very honorable but also challenging task to conclude, to wrap up on dozens of case studies and numerous insights. Can you just from a personal perspective, because I think you did a great job already, but from a personal perspective, share with us your hopes for this book to continue? Like I said asked in the beginnings at some of the panelists as well.
Yes. Well, I think it's important to keep in mind that this is something that is going to evolve over time. And as we undertake these sort of experiments, I think we also need to be critical of what we're doing to see, not to repeat some of the fallacy that have been, committed before in other kind of professional practices, and be mindful of what these, actions are for. Who are they serving? Are we engaged in the community in a meaningful way? So as we realize the potential for placemaking, I think we also have to be mindful of the potential negative impact that this practice may bring as we move forward with more of these efforts.
Great. And let's hope that the book can help there as well in being more intentional and
yes,
building the capacity, I guess, of people in doing so. Thank you so much, Jeff. And I guess the audience is looking forward as well to read into your conclusions. I would love to move on to the final part of this program before we let you all drift off and download the book and definitely read into everything that we've highlighted today. But for that, I would like to invite Mei Chow from the Urban Redevelopment Authority in Singapore, and Rui Izumiyama and Koichiro Tamura from Sotonoba and Placemakers Japan, or Placemaking Japan, I should say. Welcome, guys. You can turn on your cameras and turn on your sound to join us.
Hello, Charlotte.
Hey, May. Hi, are you there? So,
hi, it's so good to see everyone. I can't turn on my video for some reason.
Oh, okay.
It says the host has disabled it.
Ah, okay. So maybe somebody can allow May to turn on their camera behind the scenes. But yeah, here you are. Yeah.
Yay! Hello.
Welcome, welcome. So May, so listening to everything, and I know that Singapore also shared a variety of great case studies in the book, of course, but hearing to everybody you heard today, can you tell us a little bit of how Singapore would like to persuade the ideas that are framed here in the City at Eye Level Asia?
Okay, well, thank you, Charlotte. And first of all, hello, everybody, and congratulations. I think this is such a great book. My colleagues, Yan Ling and Serene, I think they contributed some of the articles in the book here today as well. I think we're all delighted to have the opportunity to contribute some stories from Singapore. We always look to learn from other people. And I think it's always so inspiring and heartwarming to hear about communities coming together to do something for the urban environment. I think we've seen so many great videos today, and I really look forward to reading the rest of the book. In Singapore, I think we have been doing quite a lot of work encouraging our precincts to come together more as a community to take greater ownership of their precincts. And I think during this period, I think as with every other city, we've seen a lot of disruptions, but I think we've also been very inspired, by the strength of the partnerships that we've seen in the communities and what they have done, leveraging on the strong networks that they've made to come together to support one another. Like we have our Tanjong Pagar community coming together to organize precinct-wide takeaways and delivery services to support the businesses in the precincts. We have Singapore River precinct stakeholders coming together to organize webinars to share tips and best practices, and also organize like discounts for things like disinfectants. And we had another community in the Jurong area who responded to the local hospital's call for supplies, and they came together to contribute stationery, books and toys to COVID patients in the hospital. I think these are all really heartwarming stories, and at the end of it, at the heart of it, it's really about the strength of the community and partnership. And I think this has been said before earlier. I think this is really a good time, a great time to launch this book. I think it's really going to be a great resource of inspirational stories to encourage, placemakers and practitioners to really band together and I guess, enjoy, the partnership and the solidarity together.
Yeah, thank you so much, May. And anything things in particular you're looking forward to in the next year in Singapore, moving on with the content of the book as well, with working on placemaking, despite, I think, the coronavirus regulations in place at the moment?
I think the coronavirus has been a strange thing. It's been a strange year for many of us. I think it's disrupted a lot of businesses, but at the same time, I think people have also found a lot of strength, through crisis, and understanding the importance of, social interaction and what people can do when they come together. I think placemaking continues to be a great way to connect with people. And as many of our businesses start to reopen and pivot and emerge stronger from the crisis, we will continue to work closely with many of our community and business partners to identify opportunities to come together and implement initiatives for their precinct, and also to encourage communities to stand together and take greater ownership and believe that together we can do better. I think that's really the value of partnership, just as this network and community has been really great for exchanging of ideas and practices. So I guess I look forward to City at Eye Level Asia too.
Yeah,
Yay.
thank you so much. Yeah, I think it's great. I mean, we started the event with it, I guess, with building the cities back stronger from the COVID-19 pandemic. And I think I love how you're saying that both the communities at the ground level in the different cities are being reiterated through the coronavirus, but also this community that we've brought together here today, and hopefully will continue to grow with Placemakers Asia. Thank you so much, Mei Chao. And I understood that from Japan we have a video message sharing some exciting news for the upcoming year.
次年度はプレイスメイキングウィークジャパン2021を日本で初開催したいなというふうに思っています。
プレイスメイキングへの理解を日本で深めるというところと、そういうネットワークとかプレイスメイキングのムーブメントを広げるという、そういう機会にしたいなと思います。
世界のいろんな都市の皆さんに比べると課題も多いのかなというふうに思っています。プレイスメイキングウィークジャパンもですね、オンラインでやりますので、ぜひ海外の皆さんもですね、ぜひ参加していただきたいと思います。
So that is certainly also look forward to in Japan, and of course we've been told, and the news will be shared hopefully soon through Placemakers Asia as well, that I know at least Placemaking India is working on a new plan for a conference next year, and I've just been told that Tita Lazarati in Bandung has some news to share there soon as well. But I will want to close off this great City at Eye Level launch by thanking all of you to be here, all the authors especially who worked with us on accomplishing the book, all the co-editors. And I want to highlight in particular one person who has been very, very silent up until now and behind the scenes. I would like her to turn on her camera. She doesn't know this yet, but Sienna Filders, can you please turn on your camera as well?
Yeah.
Because I think that Sienna definitely deserves a great round of applause, because she's been the project manager and project leader of this book, liaising with all the authors constantly, making sure that all the editors were on time in all their difficulties. She was the first to dream of this book, and she's been behind the scenes making sure that this launch runs smoothly. So I would love to close off this by giving her a big round of applause. And
thank you, everybody. It was a true dream come true. I think I also shared it with some people. Ever since I traveled in Asia and I came to work at Stipo, this was my dream. So this feels like a huge mouthful, and it's really nice that I can share this with everybody. Although I would wish that we've come together in Kuala Lumpur and celebrated it. But I'm super happy that we got this moment together and read the book.
Yeah, thank you so much, Sienna, and I think the confetti is all yours, so please celebrate tonight in Amsterdam, and everybody else who contributed to the book, celebrate in your own cities, and throw around some confetti, and go download the book now. And with that, on behalf of the partners Stipo, Think City and Urban Discovery, I would love to thank all of you for joining the City at Eye Level launch today. And we're looking forward to many more exchanges in the future. Thank you so much, and have a wonderful evening, morning, afternoon, wherever around the world you are. And enjoy reading the book.
Thank you.